Do you think it's appropriate for prosecutors to say, I disagree with the legislature and the people, and I'm not going to prosecute an entire line of cases?
Senator, I think it is appropriate for prosecutors to evaluate each case that comes before them, and almost
Yes,
every
ma'am, but
prosecutor.
that's not what I'm asking. I know you, you're smart, okay? I can tell from your resume. Let me say it again. The people elect their legislators. Legislators say on behalf of the people, this is a crime which society will not tolerate without punishment. Do you think that it's okay for prosecutors to say, I disagree and I'm not going to prosecute an entire line of cases, I don't care who is charged? Do you agree with that?
What you just watched is exactly why hearings like this matter. This exchange between Senator John Kennedy and judicial nominee Ms. Morrison wasn't about theatrics. It was about accountability, the rule of law, and who really gets to decide what is and isn't a crime in America. Senator Kennedy asked a simple, direct question that any ordinary citizen would expect a clear answer to. Can prosecutors just ignore laws they don't like? And instead of a straight answer, what we saw was careful dodging, legal gymnastics, and an unwillingness to say no, even when the topic was refusing to prosecute entire categories of crime. That's not a small issue. That goes to the heart of public safety and democracy itself. If you care about crime, accountability, and whether elected officials still have a say in how laws are enforced, you'll want to watch this all the way through. I'm Audrey, this is Congress Lens. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop your thoughts in the comments because this conversation affects every community in this country. Now let's get into it.
Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations to all of you. I enjoyed hearing about and meeting some of your family members. Ms. Morrison, which branch of government passes criminal statutes?
The legislative branch.
Yes, ma'am. And legislators, of course, I think we can agree, are elected by the people. Do you think it would be fair to say that the people in our legislators define criminality for our communities?
That's correct, Senator.
Okay. Do you think it's appropriate for a district attorney to decide to ignore criminal statutes and not to prosecute an entire line of cases?
Thank you, Senator, for that question.
You're welcome.
District attorneys, as you know, are accountable to the people and the citizens who elect them. And I know it has become an issue in elections about the extent to which district attorneys will use the resources of their office to focus on particular categories.
And what do you think about that issue? Do you think it's, let me ask you again, do you think it's appropriate for prosecutors to say, I disagree with the legislature and the people, and I'm not going to prosecute an entire line of cases?
Senator, I think it is appropriate for prosecutors to evaluate each case that comes before them, and almost
Yes,
every
ma'am,
prosecutor.
but that's not what I'm asking. I know you, you're smart, okay? I can tell from your resume. Let me say it again. The people elect their legislators. Legislators say on behalf of the people, this is a crime which society will not tolerate without punishment. Do you think that it's okay for prosecutors to say, I disagree and I'm not going to prosecute an entire line of cases, I don't care who is charged? Do you agree with that?
Senator, I agree that prosecutors have the legal option to use the flexibility given to them.
When they exercise that option, do you agree with that?
I think it would depend on the circumstance under which they're exercising it and what the rationale was for their decision.
Well, what are the circumstances where it's okay to do that?
So I think prosecutors in this country work very difficult jobs under very demanding conditions.
I'll stipulate to that, but we have prosecutors who are saying to hell with the legislature and the people. We're not going to prosecute an entire line of cases. And I think my question is pretty straightforward. Do you agree with that or disagree with it?
Senator, I have never worked as a prosecutor. I have.
Yes, ma'am, but you've read about it.
Yes, sir.
What's going on? Do you agree with it or disagree with it?
Senator, I don't think I can give a categorical yes or no to that because I think it would depend on the
you just answered my question. What do you think about the job being done by District Attorney Krasner? I believe you worked for the District Attorney's re-election or election. Do you think he's doing a good job or a bad job?
Senator, I did not actually work on District Attorney Krasner's campaign. I've been an adversary of that office.
I apologize. Do you think he's doing a good job or a bad job?
Senator, I don't think it would be appropriate as a judicial nominee for me to comment on the performance of an elected official.
Why not?
Because there is always a chance that a case could come before me in which someone has, say, a prior conviction from Philadelphia who's then prosecuted in New York, and any commentary that I made on that office could be grounds
Isn't that convenient? Do you think judges, apparently you think that prosecutors should be able to say, we're not going to prosecute a line of cases and a group of crimes despite the solemn expression of legislative will? Do you think judges should be able to do that? Say, I don't agree with this criminal statute, I'm not going to prosecute, I'm not going to hear cases for any of them.
No, Senator, judges do not prosecute cases, and
I know that, but do you think a judge should say, I don't want to hear, I'm going to dismiss all these cases because I don't agree with the criminal statute? I think you understand my question, Ms. Morrison.
I do, Senator, and I would, I'm trying to recall how you phrased the question. I would agree with you, or at least my position would be that judges cannot refuse to adjudicate or hear a case and ignore the will of the legislature.
But district attorneys can.
As executives, they are granted with greater discretion. For example, district attorneys day in and day out
A whole line of cases.
complaints from the police that they then evaluate based on the evidence.
Do you think a district attorney, it's appropriate for a district attorney saying, look, in the name of social justice, I'm not going to prosecute armed robberies anymore? You agree with that?
Senator, I would stand on my previous answer. I think it would depend on the circumstance. I'm not aware of any district attorney in the country that
How
has
can I
said,
vote for you if you won't answer a straightforward question like that, Counselor?
Senator, I would hope that you would consider the entirety of my record and my qualifications and the work that I've done.
The problem is I have. And I see all these comments you've made in favor of the district attorneys who, in the name of social justice, and you've spoken glowingly of all of them, and now you won't answer my question about it. You say it's inappropriate. And I just don't, I think it's really appropriate. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Kennedy. Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Morrison, you urge this committee to look at the whole of your record. I will confess the whole of your record is deeply disturbing. Across this country, Americans are horrified at skyrocketing crime rates, at skyrocketing homicide rates, at skyrocketing burglary rates, at skyrocketing carjacking rates. And all of those are the direct result of the policies you've spent your entire lifetime advocating. You have repeatedly.
All right, now that we've seen the full exchange, let's be honest about what actually happened here. Senator John Kennedy was not being unreasonable. He wasn't being unclear. And he certainly wasn't asking a trick question. His point was simple and powerful. The legislative branch, elected by the people, defines criminal behavior. Prosecutors don't get to veto that because of personal ideology. Yet over and over again, Ms. Morrison refused to say that ignoring entire categories of crime is wrong. That silence matters. Senator Kennedy carefully walked the logic step by step. Legislators are elected by the people. Legislators define crimes. Prosecutors are supposed to enforce those laws. So when prosecutors say, I disagree with this law, I won't prosecute it at all, they are overriding voters. That's not discretion. That's defiance of democratic process. And notice this, Senator Kennedy wasn't talking about evaluating individual cases. He made that distinction very clear. He was talking about blanket refusals, Entire classes of crime being ignored. Armed robbery. Serious offenses. And still, no clear condemnation. When asked about District Attorney Larry Krasner, Ms. Morrison again declined to answer, claiming it would be inappropriate as a judicial nominee. But here's the issue. If you've publicly praised and aligned yourself with these policies in the past, suddenly refusing to comment when questioned isn't neutrality. It looks like avoidance. Senator Kennedy called that out, and frankly, he was right too. Then came the most important moment of the hearing. Kennedy asked whether judges should be allowed to ignore laws they disagree with. Ms. Morrison correctly said no. And that exposed the contradiction. If judges can't ignore the law, why should prosecutors be allowed to? That's the inconsistency Senator Kennedy was highlighting the entire time. This wasn't about party politics. It was about whether laws still mean what they say. By the time Senator Ted Cruz stepped in and pointed to skyrocketing crime, homicides, carjackings, burglaries, it only reinforced Kennedy's concern. These policies aren't theoretical anymore. They have real-world consequences. Senator John Kennedy did exactly what a senator is supposed to do. He pressed for clarity. He defended legislative authority. And he spoke for citizens who are tired of seeing laws selectively enforced. Whether you agree with his tone or not, his question deserved an answer. And the fact that it never got one should concern everyone watching. This is why oversight matters. This is why hearings matter. And this is why Congress Lens exists, to cut through the noise and show you what's really happening. If you found this breakdown helpful, like the video, subscribe, and share it, because accountability only works when people are paying attention. I'm Audrey, and I'll see you in the next one.